Hello, everybody. I'm just doing a little bit of work on my Firebase-Composables, and I figured halfway through, why not just stream what I'm doing? I don't see why not. So here I am. I'm just going to continue on doing what I was doing. So basically, I'm moving over to Firebase 9. The reason I was stuck on Firebase 8, the namespace version, is because one of the composable libraries that I was consuming, which was in the view use library, it was stuck on version 8. And I'm waiting for that to update to 9. So I figured, you know what, I can probably re-implement a lot of the stuff that they've done anyway, so that should be fine. All right, so let's get cracking at it. Yeah, I'm just kind of like going through all of these and changing the imports. It's not going to be particularly interesting, but I figured, hey, why not stream it anyway? See what problems I run into, and if anybody's watching and they see something they can help me with, then they can do that. Yeah, the way this was all imported confused me, to be honest, anyway. I don't think you need Firebase app anymore. No, you don't. You just basically pull in get auth from remember. So here, I think I can just say, for example, get auth. We'll import that. Yep, there it is there. And now we'll change all of the occurrences of auth to get auth. Why is that coming out saying that it's never used? Oh, it's because I'm doing it on Firebase app. So I don't need that anymore. I think in general, you don't actually need Firebase app anymore, which is nice. So that's done now, and I think I need to do the same thing here as well. So get rid of Firebase app, and we change this just to get auth. Get auth. There we go. And the rest of that looks good. And I'm just going to keep plugging away here. Firebase app. So this is the Firebase plugin. This is where I initialize the app. So I'm going to have to go to the docs and figure out how you do that. Yeah, I want to figure out how to basically get your app started with version 9, which would probably be this part here. No, this is authentication. Oh, this is going to come in handy later. So let's copy this, paste it in there. This is basically going to allow me to have a variable that models the auth state. So I definitely want to keep that sitting somewhere, because that's the part that I'm going to re-implement that view use doesn't support version 9 for. Where's the part that tells you how to set up though? Oh, okay, I'm in the authentication section. So let's go to overview. Oh my goodness. So we're not doing fundamentals. Add Firebase to web. So it's probably sitting somewhere inside there. Yes, I've already done all of that. The part I want to know is the credentials part. Right, okay, so that would be this bit here. So you now pull out initialize app from Firebase app. So what I might actually just, what can I just directly copy here? So that's our app that we end up with in the end. And then that's getting a DB out. Let's just copy that part there. And now I can come in here and paste that in there. And so that's how we get the app now, initialize app. And then they just say initialize app with the Firebase config. And that config is simply going to be the options that we pass through. But it's probably better we nest that. Honestly, it should probably be like options.config. Because that means that we have the potential to add more options later on. So we'll change this from Firebase app.initialize app to simply initialize app. And then we provide it. And instead of Firebase, I now want to call that Firebase-app. I want to be more specific there so that you can expose other things if need be. All right, so we've got the view app there, and we're essentially just providing app. Okay, so that all looks good to me now. That was much easier than I thought it would be. In my demo app now, let's come over here and make sure we're doing this correctly. So actually, can I throw that on that screen? Yeah, here we go. So it means that when we're installing it, we have to say options.config is where our config needs to be. So I'm going to go into my boot file because I'm pretty sure that's where I'm installing it. Here it is here. And we need to nest that config in config like this. So that's the new way that it's consumed. So if we need any other options, we can throw them in there, which we no doubt will at some point down the line. So I want to be on top of that. Now, we've got our provide here, and I now need to find all the times that I inject it. So let's just do a find in folder and look for inject. And what did I call it? Firebase-app now. So Firebase-app, and that would be here as well, Firebase-app. There we go. And we should change this from use Firebase now to use app. That would make more sense, wouldn't it? Use app. And redundant auth, so it looks like I've gotten rid of that now. I was just kind of keeping some code there just in case I needed it, but it looks like I won't. So I need to go to main.js now, and there's one of these imports is not going to work anymore. Or it was Firebase app, I believe. Is that what it was? What's the one that I just renamed? Use app. Oh, okay, so it would have been use Firebase. There we go. That one's now been changed to use app, like that. So we need to change the way that is exported. You know what? Then again, use Firebase app. Maybe I should call it use Firebase app, because when you're importing it, you probably want something that's descriptive. No, you don't, because you know where it's coming from anyway. So if you want to change the name, you'd say import as. So let's leave that as use app. And now I want to look for Firebase app. Use Firebase. So there it is there, and we change that. Cool. So that's done. What else do I want to do here? I think that's going to be it for the imports. Yeah, so let's move over to redundant auth. I'm pretty sure I'm safe to delete that now. I've got that committed in with Git anyway if I really need to fish it up again. So here's another situation where I'm using auth. We now change that to get auth. So I'll just say here get auth. Oh, didn't give me anything to import it. Get auth. Okay, let's try that again. Get auth. Oh, bugger. Let's try up here. Get auth. All right, for some reason it doesn't want to import it in this file, so I'll just find another place I did it. Get auth. And we'll import it like that. All right, so then we just call get auth. That's sign out. We'll keep plugging through these. Is there anything else in here? No. So let's move over to use app. This is the one that I changed before. That looks good. Use auth state. Okay, this is the part where I use the composables. So this is the part that I'm going to have to re-implement. All right, so I'll probably end up looking at their code. I almost kind of need to tag this one to say that I need to update the code here. So let's just leave that for now. And I'm going to make a mental note that this is the one that we have to do the work on. So use email register. Once again, we're saying auth there. It's usually auth related stuff because that's half of Firebase, just getting authenticated in the first place. Let's see if I can use get auth here and import it. No, man, that's not even working anymore. Weird. So import get auth, and that's coming from, I believe it's Firebase/auth. Let's just control click that. Yeah, that looks right. So now where's the auth part? Here it is here. Get auth, and that should now work. We'll do the same thing here, and let's just copy that so we've got it. And we'll paste it there. Get rid of that. Find the place where I'm using auth. Here it is, and change that to get auth. And how many have we got left? All right, getting the Firestore Db. So how am I going to tackle this? Well, let's figure out how we get Firestore. So I guess we'll go into Cloud Firestore. Here we go. Get started. So we just want to know how to get the DB. It's probably going to be extremely similar. All right, so initialize app. So you just pull out get Firestore, but now I just need to see how they use it, even though it's probably obvious. Let's just do a search on that. Get Firestore. Here we go. It's literally as simple as that. All right, I thought it would be. So we should be able to get rid of all of that and simply say here, get Firestore. All right, that's not going to work. I have to just import it properly. And now I can just say get Firestore like that. It's as simple as that to use the Firestore. This is almost feeling a little bit redundant, but I imagine there might be some extra bits and pieces I need to do here. I don't know. This really is very redundant if you're literally just returning it back. So I'm just going to delete that. Use Firestore. And you make that a documentation thing where you say if you want to use a Firestore, you just literally use it. Here we go, use Firestore Db. I'll copy that and let's remove that from the package. It's now completely useless. Right, what else have we got here? So where was I before? I've done that, and we had used Firestore, which we deleted. I did use email sign-in. Handles errors is something I built myself, so it's not relying on anything. I think that's pretty much it. Auth, we actually don't need auth anymore. So let's see if we can find auth. I might have already deleted it, actually. Let's have a look. Yeah, I can't control click that. I think I've deleted it. So let me just quickly scan over these now then. That's your auth providers. We might even split this up into something like social auth providers. And then maybe like another one here called auth, where we've got stuff like sign out, your auth state, all this good stuff. And then just everything else. I don't know what I'll name this yet. I just want to make this a little bit easier for me to grok when I come back to it. And I guess you could have another one called like helpers or utilities. I like to use full words. Utilities. There we go. What's use app doing? Yeah, okay, that's going to be needed in other composables, so we'll definitely keep that. Firebase plugin is how you initialize it in the first place. These are really helpful little helper functions, and they should all work now. So I think that might be everything I need to do to get this working. Auth is not defined. Okay, so that would be this part here. What else have we got now? So now a couple of these things. Yeah, all right. I need to get that use auth state thing working. So what I'll do is I'll look at what view use is doing behind the scenes and basically steal their ideas, which is what a good coder does. As long as you say, thank you to the person that had the original idea, which I certainly plan on doing. So here we go. We're going to Firebase. Use auth. This is the one I'm particularly interested in. All right, here it is here. So they take in the auth instance. Else auth equals auth instance. Okay, so it's saying otherwise we'll try and instantiate it. We'll try and make it ourselves. All right, that makes sense. And then it creates a user that is a ref and is authenticated, basically checks. Wait, what is it here? Auth dot current user. Is that all you have to do? Hang on. Oh no, so it sets it to what it currently is. On ID token change. Okay, so this is the part. And where does that come from? Yeah, so it's basically digging into auth and saying, digging into a hook there. All right, this shouldn't be too difficult. In fact, all right, so let's have a look at how I might re-implement that. And then I need to figure out the right way to attribute for their help here. So I guess I'll probably just do a new file flat for now until I figure out a better place to put it. Or we can probably just say use auth state here and start smashing some of this out. So the first thing they do, I don't think I'm going to need to accept an instance of Firebase auth. I guess the reason they do that is in case there's more than one version of Firebase of your Firebase app on the page. I don't currently support that, so I don't need to do it. So straight up, they say auth is equal to, I don't know TypeScript very well. Firebase. What's going on here? Firebase and then auth. All right, and then so this is them, I guess. I think, like, I don't really know TypeScript, but I think they're just saying what auth is there. Now that's what would be happening in here. Okay, so anyway, if auth is an instance of function, yeah, okay, I don't need to do any of this. We just need to get our auth instance to begin with, which shouldn't be hard. All I should have to do is say const auth is equal to get auth. We import that, and that's all I should have to do rather than doing all of this first section here. Now we get the user to begin with. So I'm going to close out all that, and I should be able to do that by saying const user is equal to auth dot. How do I get the user? I think was it get user or something like that? No. Dot current user. That would be it. And is that a function, or am I literally just getting it directly? Yeah, okay, cool. So now we've got our user, which of course is going to be a ref. So that's equal to a ref of that. So we'll have to import ref. I don't know the best way to import refs in plugins like this. Hang on, am I even using... Oh, he's pulling it out. They're pulling it out of Udemy, which I think makes it backwards compatible. I think that's how... Is that how Udemy works? You literally just import it like this, and then everything works depending on your version of Vue. I don't know. Let's just try it and see what happens. Why not? We'll pull in here Udemy. Actually, the best way to do this is probably just a yarn add. So let's go yarn add Vue-Demi. If it's literally that simple, I'm pretty blown away. All right, so we'll probably need computer. This is probably just for typing reasons. And I will convert this to TypeScript at some point when I get better TypeScript chops. And there we go. So user is now a reference to the current user. And then, of course, we want to be able to get whether or not they're authenticated as well. And so how do they do that? Yeah, they just check if there's a user value. So that's pretty straightforward. So we say const is authenticated is equal to computed. And we're just going to check. I can probably do this in a one-liner, to be honest. User dot value. Should be simple as that. What did they do? Okay, they coerced it to a Boolean, which is probably a good idea. All right. So now this is the part where we get the reactivity. We're basically just going to say auth dot on ID. Yeah, there we go. So we do have that method. That's going to give us the authenticated user. And then all I have to do is say the new user dot value is equal to the authenticated user. And if I look down here, that's actually exactly what they did. So I must be on the right path. So I think that's it. That's all I have to do to re-implement that. It's actually really basic code. I can probably smoosh some of this together. Maybe separate those and separate the get auth part. And yeah, I think that's it. I can now cull that and move on to the next thing. So here we go. I thought this would happen. So the use Firestore part isn't working in our app. So let's go to the app itself. And by the way, I probably want to build this and use the built version. So I'll make sure I do that as well. Because at the moment, I don't think I'm even, yeah, I wasn't even including views reactivity before. So obviously I wasn't actually building this properly. This is literally just like connecting to the source, my Quasar app. So I have to do all that setup. All right, brain, wake up. So the problem was Firestore. Where was that problem? It's not telling me, but it is telling me this. So I can probably just do a find inside of here for the part where I'm saying use Firestore. On the register page, that's where we're doing it. So all we have to do is import Firestore. Hang on, is this still including Firebase? No, it's not. I accidentally got rid of that. So let's go to package.json here. We want to make sure we got Firebase. I don't think I should have to include Firebase there because it's automatically going to be installed anyway with my package. So let's say, however, if you were starting a new project, you would actually install, I don't know. I'm confusing myself now. Anyway, let's do that. We'll run a yarn. And we'll come back here. And then when that's done, I should be able to say, for example, Firestore, Firebase store or something like that. Okay, let's remember how they do it. Get Firestore. That's what the wording is for that. So get. Still don't have auto completion. I probably just need to do it manually until everything's indexed. So we'll come over here and we'll say get Firestore, run that here, and now we've got our DB. So that's kind of the updated code for that. Let's jump back in here. Use Firestore DB. It seems to still be used somewhere. Let's come in here and we'll do a find in folder. And there it is there. Use Firestore DB. Now becomes get Firestore. Nice, it's auto importing now. This looks so much cleaner. And, right, what have we got now? Yeah, okay, I think it might have been because I yarn installed something before. So let's just run that again. What's this update? For the Quasar CLI. I have to get that going. Except I wouldn't use yarn, I'd use npm. Okay, so I'm still using use Firestore somewhere, which is, where am I doing that? It might actually be in this package here. Use Firestore. No, is that how it's spelled? Yeah, use Firestore, so it must be somewhere in here. I don't know why I would do that. Yeah, and now we're going to change that basically to, oh no, use Firestore. Oh, bugger. So I'd have to also re-implement the reactivity for using Firestore. Because that's also currently sitting on web version 8. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's going to be a bit more of an effort, I imagine. Well, let's have a look at their code and see what they've done there. Maybe I can contribute back as well once I've finished building this out. My lack of TypeScript knowledge is really holding me back, so I'm going to have to put the effort into making that happen. All right. All right, I'm just going to do a quick read through here and see if this is something that I can get on top of. Okay, what is this docref? Okay, yeah, it's of course, so a reference to a Firestore doc. So this is how we get the data. We say, we get that docref that was passed through. and we just call data on it. And if we have data, they're saying define, so on data, we're setting the ID equal to the docref ID as a string. All right, I don't really understand the why behind this. Honestly, I could probably just copy paste a lot of this code, but I don't know how to attribute it properly. So I might just do like a tweet, maybe out to Anthony Fu and say, hey, I want to steal this code. How do I do this in an ethical way? Because all we need to do is change the imports to get it working. Anyway. Use document reference. So that's just a way of checking. Is that just checking if it's like a legit document reference? Is that like a validator? I don't know. Anyway, here is where we say use Firestore. You get the document. There it is again. Why are there two exports of that? Is this something I don't understand? Yes, looks like some weird TypeScript stuff that I don't understand. Because these are slightly different. Use Firestore and use Firestore. They're called the same thing though. Like, or maybe this is a TypeScript thing that's saying, hey, there's two different ways you can define use Firestore. Anyway, nullable initial values. Okay, yeah, this looks like it's all typing stuff. It's basically saying, I think, yeah, the initial value could be T or, yeah, I think this is all typing stuff. Making it straightforward to always keep your local data in sync with remote databases. So this is the actual logic here. It gets a document reference. Yeah, it looks like all of that was basically working up to here. Most of that was, so it looks like that's all typing stuff. This is a little helper function. And this is a helper function as well for getting the data. All right, I think I understand this a bit better now. They're both helper functions, and then this is where we actually do the grunt work. All right, so you get an error handler that literally just logs the error to the console. What is this auto dispose? If auto dispose, try on scope dispose. Where does that come from? So what's the point of this? How does this work? Okay, so this is a view use thing that I think basically checks whether or not this is still being used. It's like a smart way of disposing data if it's not being used anymore. Oh, interesting. Anyway, I think I'm almost ready to have a crack at implementing this. So we have an error handler, this auto dispose thing is document reference. Okay, that's where we basically check if it is a legit document reference. Oh no, so that's checking if it's a reference to a document versus a reference to, what do you call them? A collection. I don't know what they call them in Firebase. So then we can easily say, we don't have to specify it. It checks it for us. And if it is, then it sets the data. its own way. docref.onSnapshot. Okay, so we're basically when we get a change there, data.value, we're updating our data to get data from the snapshot. So that should be slightly different here. On snapshot, docs.map, get data, filter is def. What's that? Yeah, I don't know. There's a little bits and pieces here that I don't understand. All right, let's try. I'm basically going to go ahead and try and re-implement what they've got here, and then I'm gonna do a tweet to either Anthony Fu or send them something on the GitHub page to basically say, hey, I want to use this code. How do I attribute and all that jazz? So let's create a new. So we'll do this in Firebase. We'll create a new one called Firestore. And then we'll have a new file here that is called use firestore.js. And I probably can still use view use, which means that I get the benefits of using these helpers here. So I'm able to just say, hang on, let's find out how I can do this. Is this just like one of the libraries they've got? Is def is defined. They're calling it is defined there. So try on scope dispose. Try on scope. Yeah, okay. So that one's try on scope dispose. The other one seems to be called something different, which is kind of weird. Why is that? Is this just a proxy to? No. So how about is defined? Non-null is checking type guard for. Oh, okay, so it's just it's checking if it's defined for a ref. So let's see what that does. Yeah, okay, it's like a really quick shortcut for checking if a ref is defined. So I think they are the same. They might just call it something different for their internal use from the view use shared library. Cool. So we'll use those as well. We'll say export default here. Hang on, is that how I want to export it? Okay, this is just exporting a single function. So it's just saying export function, use Firestore, which makes sense. And then we're going to accept in there the doc ref. I'm going to keep it simple for now and just do that. Well, if we're going to like follow what they're doing, we might as well just, I guess, take in those other parameters as well. So we've got a doc ref, initial value. I'm pretty much just copying what they're doing here because those names seem perfect to me. I wouldn't really change anything. Cool. So then they create an error handler. I might actually end up doing something a bit more custom here. So I'll take what they're doing for now, but then I'll probably add a little bit of extra help for error handling because that's how I like to do things. Const. Oh, I see what they're doing. They're setting a default here. Or you can send in your own error handler in the options. Okay, that does make sense. That's really cool. But once again, I'll probably do my own error handler here, but we'll have what they've got for now. Handler is equal to. All right, so that just takes an error and then it console.logs the error, something really basic. Does that need to be imported? I thought that was a. Oh no, that's a typing thing. Whoops, my bad. So I kind of need to like suck out the TypeScript, even though later on I have to throw it back in. So that's that. And then we got auto dispose. And we'll set that equal to true by default. And that's the thing that's automatically going to do like some cleanup for us. And that's equal to options. So now that's configurable. All right, I didn't know you could actually do this, setting default values like that when you're plucking things out of an object. So that's cool. I'm going to remember that. Now we can say close is equal to, where's this close being used? I want to understand this before I do it. Yeah, okay, so that's the code to actually close it, which I think is like basically to stop watching the snapshot. So doc ref dot on snapshot. This is why I use TypeScript, because now I have no typing. And we'll say snapshot is taken in there. So we take the snapshot, and then we say a data.value, which I haven't actually set yet. So we scroll up here. I'm guessing that's set at some point here. Oh, they set it here. So somehow I missed that. Oh no, they're doing it on a different area. Oh, okay, yeah, sorry. It's a misunderstanding by me. And we haven't done that first bit. So is document reference. So we're going to have to use this code here. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to do some attribution here because this is like all their code. I'm literally doing a copy paste now because I do not know regular expressions. So it takes in a docref and just checks if it's a document reference. Cool. Okay, we'll come back here. And where was I up to? So I was writing this close. Yeah, okay, which was there. So I did that a little bit too soon. So let's just come up here and say if the document is a reference, and then we're going to pass that through the doc ref to check that. Then we say const data, so we're setting some reactive data here, is equal to ref. Does that really need to be a ref? Oh yeah, because it returns the ref. So it's, yeah, okay, my bad. Definitely does. Is equal to a reference to initial value. All right, so we're taking that initial value that was possibly passed through to begin with. And really that should be equal to, yeah, I forgot to set a default here. Undefined, and I should have a default for the options as well. Will that just be an empty object? Yeah, just an empty object like that. Cool. So we set the data to that initial value in case we have one. And then we've got that close logic in here. This is how we close it. We say data.value is equal to get data, whoops, and we send through the snapshot that we've got. Otherwise, null. Okay, and then we've got our error handler in here. This is what they're doing. By the way, I'm just looking at what they're doing here and copying it and basically making sure I understand what's happening at the same time. Error handler, like so, which means this part here, this get data, I need to implement as well. I want to write this myself to make sure I understand what's happening here. So let's say function get data, and it takes in a doc ref, right? And then we can say, here's our data, and we'll take that doc ref and pluck the data out of it. And then we want to say if we've actually got data, so we just tried to get data from our document, if it was successful and we have something, we can say object dot, so what's happening here? Object dot define property data. So they're taking the data and they're setting an ID on it. Oh, okay. I see. This is to take basically switching it from that object syntax to an array of data type syntax. And then we're setting the value equal to docref.id.to string. So they're taking the ID and converting it to a string. I don't know why that would not be a string already. Writable is equal to, what was that thing here? All right, false. So they're saying this ID is a value that you cannot write to. Okay, all right, so define property sets the value of ID equal to that. I've never actually used object.define property, which is why I'm going through this. And then you're able to say whether or not you can actually write to that value. I didn't even know that was a thing, so that's really cool. And then we return that data. Okay, I understand what's going on there now. That's good. So let's come down here. And we should be good to carry on now. Yep, so that get data should work. And now we get to use that cool thing, the try on scope. Oh, have I got view use yet? No, so we're going to have to pull that in. Let's come up here, guide, getting started. Where's the installation? Yeah, we'll just do a yarn add for that. Yarn add. Get that going. This whole view use library is such a fantastic idea. I really love it. So now that we've got that, what did I change there? Try on scope. Yeah, okay, so try on. Nope, still not working. I'm going to save this, close it out, jump back into the file, and hopefully it works now. Try on. All right, we'll import it manually. Try on scope dispose. Come up here and we'll say import try on scope dispose, and that's coming from, I believe it is at view use / core. Control click that to double check. Yep. And there we go. So let's see if we can try disposing this. And if so, we close that reference. Such a cool idea, man. This library is awesome. And then we've got our else statement here, which handles the other case. So if it's not a document reference, what do? We say that the data is equal to, how am I going for time? Got about 20 minutes. The data is equal to a ref. If I can get everything working again by the end of this 20 minutes, I'll be super happy. Which we want to be the initial value. So we're going to try and get that initial value. I think that's undefined. Yeah, otherwise it'll be undefined, which is totally fine. So then we come in here and say close is equal to docref.on snapshot, same thing as before. We take in that snapshot. And then what do? Snapshot, and this time it's going to be .docs.map. And we say get data. Hang on, I don't really understand this. What's happening here? This will actually be is defined. I can probably actually, they had is def as well. Hang on. Look at this. Is def. Here we go, from view use share. So let's get that imported. I don't know why that didn't work. View use / share, and we're calling this is def. There we go. All right, so we've got close. What's happening here? Change that to value. It's going over every single one of them, and it's getting the data. Okay, I see. It's calling that get data function to get the data out of every single ref individually, and then it's filtering it to the ones that are actually defined. Okay, I understand that now. I don't know why that's a close function though. So I don't really understand what this close does then. I think it's like a final thing where we do one last get of the data. I don't know. I might actually ask them about that on GitHub. Try and find out what they're doing there. Anyway, we'll say error handler there, just like before. And then we're saying if it's on auto dispose, so if auto dispose. So why is that if auto dispose being checked there, but it's not being checked here? I don't know, that could be a mistake. Okay, make a mental note of that. It might be worth bringing that up. There could be a mistake in the code. And then we say here, try on scope dispose. And this is basically that same logic as before. We call that function. And then return the data. I think that's it now. No doubt I've done some sort of an error in here, but at least we got something that should be working. Thankfully, their code was pretty easy to follow, really well, which means it must be well written. Oh, I feel like I've heard of this guy. All right, so the next thing I want to do is test if this is actually working now. Let's come over here, and basically I want to use my version of use Firestore. So we'll do that by coming into our application, and we're pulling now use Firestore out of Firestore-Composables. That's our library. And I'll have to create the export as well, but I'll do that in a second. So that should be correct. And then this one, same thing. So we'll copy that and we'll just come down here and whack it in there. Sweet. So now that all that's done, we come back here. I want to jump into my main.js and we'll have another section here for Firestore. Import use Firestore. There's that. Hang on. It's exported as a function, so it's not export default. Well, let's go to the docs and see how it's used. What am I not understanding here? So we type in here Firestore. Yeah, okay, so it is plucked directly out, and that's probably just in case they want to add more things that you can pluck out of it at some point. Do they have any other exports, actually? I should do a quick run. Okay, so yeah, okay, because they might want to do the types as well. And it also allows you to have other stuff to export. Okay, that makes sense. So use Firestore is being plucked out of there now. Let's save that. View use /share. Oh, okay, so I probably just want to say here is def defined and not use the one out of view use share. Is def, because obviously I'm getting problems there. Isn't that what I called it? Firestore, no, Firebase-Composables. All right. So let's come back over here and change this to Firebase-Composables. Okay, it's telling me it's not in there. Use Firestore. Did I leave it out somewhere? Okay, I never actually used it. So let's just whack that in here. And there we go. How about now? Now it's found it. What now? There's another place where I've said Firestore Composables. So let's look up Firestore/Composables. No, it doesn't look like it. Firestore/ Weird. Okay, where's that error coming from? Maybe I just need to restart the server. Give that a second to restart. I think we're almost done. Oh, fingers crossed this is all going to work. I haven't even had the chance to really test it at all, so this is going to be It's going to be a surprise if it does all come together straight away. Where have I said that? Weird, it didn't find it the first time. This is now Firebase-Composables. And there we go. That's compiling. So let's now open that in a new tab. We've got no oh, here we go. No Firebase app is created. So let's come back over here. And I want to say, I think it's in, I have a boot file for this. It's creating the app. So that uses the Firebase plugin, which I thought was then creating the app. So I then want to come in here and say Firebase plugin. And that's where the app is initialized. So let's just see if that's actually happening. And just say like maybe here, probably should have just done a debugger. App.initialize app. So that has just been run successfully. Weird. So why am I getting db equals get Firestore? Am I supposed to pass the app through there? I didn't think I had to do that. Firebase app, initialize app needs to get called. That's happening here. And options.config should be my config file. So let's just do a quick check on that. Yeah, that's definitely my config file. And then db equals get Firestore. That's how we're running that. So let's look at the part that's actually consuming this and check that it all lines up. So it's probably over here somewhere in the index.view page, I think. And I got this just data card to just check that it works. So services Firebase class. Okay, so I'm doing that. Pulling out get Firestore directly. Okay, that's how it's getting the DB. Maybe I did something wrong in that composable we just created then for use Firestore. Well, no, it's not importing anything. Anyway, I got to head off to work soon, so unfortunately I don't have time to finish this up. Man, this is annoying. It's telling me to call app.initialize app. I think that's happening though. When the plugin gets installed, and that's definitely getting installed. Let's come back to the docs. db is equal to get Firestore. So I'm just doing stuff on the other screen. All right, so that creates the collection. Let's look at the consumption of it. Use Firestore, which I'm pulling out of my composables. By this point, okay, so it's actually happening in user collections here. Let's chuck a debugger in there. All right. So we'll say no errors yet. Next, we say get Firestore. So I want to go next. All right, so that hits an error. That's where it's happening on get Firestore here. I didn't actually need that in the end. All right, that's kind of frustrating. They say initialize app. Get Firestore doesn't actually use the app or anything like that. Looks like this boot file is, but I know the boot file is being run. And I'm pretty confident the app is being initialized and working correctly. What else can I try here? Let's jump into that boot file. Saying app.use Firebase plugin. That caused install, gives it the config. I know that works. We tried that and it worked. Man, but I can't even get Firestore. db equals get Firestore, which is pulled directly out of Firebase/Firestore. And we're coming here, get Firestore. It doesn't have the @ symbol there for Firebase. It just says Firebase/Firestore. I don't know how that happened. Does that matter? Let's find in here any occurrences of @Firebase, because I think that's not the right way to do it. Do the import. Yeah, I've been doing that here as well. @Firebase. I think it's meant to be just, let's go back to the auth docs. I think it's meant to be just plain Firebase without that app symbol. So where can I find that code? That would be in authentication, web, I guess just in the getting started code. Yeah, they're just using, okay, so let's just do this. Let's replace all occurrences of @Firebase with Firebase. Oops, cut that, meant to do it there. Replace all. Yeah, I might just shut this down and start it up again just in case. Some code hasn't been updated from that. Give it a second. Oh man. Right, exact same problem. I don't know if that initialize code has to sit in the same file as, nah, that wouldn't make sense. Let's see if I'm doing this meticulously exactly as it's supposed to be done. You need to import both Firebase and Cloud Firestore. Initialize app from Firebase app. So let's jump into our plugin. And then you've got get Firestore. Maybe it needs to sit within the same library. So let's come in here and say, maybe get Firestore just as an experiment here. Export default. And then we're just going to return there, get Firestore. What's going on? Oh, I wrote that wrong. And return get Firestore. Oh man, my import's not working. So we'll copy that. We'll paste this here. And then we'll come down to main.js. And then let's come in here and say get Firestore. Control click it to make sure it works. Yep, it does. We're just going to export that directly. Just whack it in there. And now this is going to come out of here instead. I wonder if that'll fix it. Whoops. Save it. Oh, okay, there we go. That did fix it. So it looks like this is using its own version of Firestore. And that's probably because might be because I'm directing it directly to the source files. No, that wouldn't be it. So they end up with their own versions of Firestore. That makes sense to me now because the plugin, the package has its own version. It's and then another version must get built up within the project itself. I think that's the problem I was running into, which means that yeah, I think they had some code in use Firestore that was actually checking that. Anyway, I'm gonna have to push that to later on. I got to get started at work. But hey, at least I got pretty far. Now it's saying db.collection is not a function, so I don't know what that's all about. Get Firestore. What does get Firestore give you? Just gives you that, and then you call it yourself. All right, so this doesn't look like I'm actually getting the right thing here. Oh, that's right. The way they're used is different as well. I completely forgot about that. In web version 9, it does like a weird way of fetching data. So I'm gonna have to rewrite some of that stuff in the composable anyway. Yeah, well, you got like individual functions you have to pluck out. Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna have to do this later. Thanks to everybody who's watched and sort of stuck along with me on this journey. And yeah, I'm gonna head off to work and I'll keep plugging away at this later.